Hey, good Friday evening, everybody. Red Sox collector Dan McGraw here. Wanted to do another little quick video. This is not a mail day video. This has nothing to do with cards. It has somewhat to do with the Red Sox, but I wanted to just share my opinion on something and get some feedback from some other people out there because it's a topic that's you're going to hear about it more and more. We've been hearing about it for almost over 30 years now. We've been talking about it off and on. And I think it's going to be brought up a lot more because of what's happened in baseball over the past week to 10 days. And obviously, you all know I'm a huge Red Sox fan. And as most of you have heard by now, the Red Sox brought back Alex Cora today to be the manager, which is not surprising at all. Shouldn't be surprising to anybody who knows anything about baseball or ethics in general. Alex Cora resigned as manager of the Red Sox after the whole scandal came out last winter. And the plan all along, I'm sure, was that he was going to resign. They weren't going to fire him. And then they would make Ron Renicky the interim manager. And I'm not saying that they tanked the season. They were just terrible this year. And then Alex Cora would slide right back into that role in 2021. And that's exactly what happened. And it doesn't surprise me a bit. Am I happy about it? Not really. I didn't want him back. But it's a very forgiving society nowadays, especially when it comes to competitive sports. The Red Sox obviously feel that Alex Cora is the best candidate to be in the dugout to try to lead the Red Sox back to a championship, whether it be in 2021, 22, 23, whatever. I don't even know what the terms were of his rehiring today. I have no idea. I don't really care. AJ Hinch, manager of the Astros, who was fired by the Astros. And kudos to the Astros in this case for having the guts to fire him and not force him to resign like the Red Sox did. Sorry, I love the Red Sox, but that was so corny and predictable when that happened because, they knew what they were doing. They knew what their plan was, and they followed through on their plan. The Astros fired him. They never had any intention of wanting A.J. Hinch back in their organization. Well, the Detroit Tigers, a team that's been bad for a while now, looking for anything to try to rebuild that organization, took a chance on him, brought him back very shortly after the World Series. I think within a day or two after he could be reinstated, he was rehired and brought in. And again, I could care less what the Detroit Tigers do. I'm not a fan of theirs. They obviously felt he was the best candidate that was available to put in the dugout to lead the Tigers moving forward. So the question that I have now is with this forgive and forget policy, because the bottom line is these two managers were both found essentially guilty of helping their teams win by using unethical practices. Simple word for it would be cheating. That's what everybody called it. But they were both accused, and A.J. Hinch seemed to have more found against him than Alex Cora did. But Alex Cora was on both of these teams. So I just really have a hard time ethically putting him back in the dugout and leading this team. I don't know how the players feel. Ultimately, they're the ones who are going to have to go out there and play for the guy. But I know that he built some relationships with a lot of those guys, and obviously that 2018 season was awesome. And it's still, in my mind, a little bit tainted, but that was a great team, and you don't win that many games unless you have a great team on the field. And again, my thought on managers has always been way too much credit when they win and way too much blame when they lose. They're not the ones out there doing things. They're putting players in places. If those players don't perform, I don't care who you are, you're not going to be successful if the players don't perform. So, again, and I'm tiptoeing around it here, but let me get to my point here is that with all of this forgive and forget society in baseball now, is it finally time to reinstate Pete Rose, the baseball's all-time hit leader? Is it time to reinstate him, and is it time to put him on the Hall of Fame ballot? I'm not suggesting, I think yes, that's why I'm bringing this up. I think absolutely you need to reinstate him. It's been 30 years, okay? Nobody is ever going to touch that hit record. Nobody. Nobody's even going to come close. Players don't play as long as they did back in the 60s and 70s. The longevity isn't there. You'd have to average a 20 season career, you would have to average about 220 hits a year. It's just not happening. The league leaders in hits barely crack 200 nowadays. So it's just never going to happen. Pete Rose was one of, if not the greatest pure hitters in baseball history. He has that record for a reason. He made a mistake as a manager and he bet on baseball. And probably the thing that hurt him the most was that he denied it and denied it and denied it for years. And then he finally came out and, you know, said what he did, apologized. He's been kind of let back in baseball circles. I know he was on Fox for a while doing some postseason stuff. So they've kind of let him back in on a few things, but it's time already. Reinstate Pete Rose, and don't put him in the Hall of Fame automatically. Okay, but at least give him the opportunity to be voted in, and put him on next year's ballot, and see what happens. As time passes, there are fewer and fewer players who have retired who are going to be eligible for the Hall of Fame who really have the numbers, in my opinion, to be a Hall of Famer. Now, obviously, players aren't putting up the same numbers career wise as the old timers did. They don't play as long. It's a different generation, different era. Um, Baseball is a totally different sport. The way teams are built and designed, and the way players are, coddled, and especially pitchers. If you win 200 games in this era in your career, you're probably going to be a Hall of Famer. There's a lot of guys who won 200 games that are not in the Hall of Fame, and old time players. So it's going to be different. Things are going to be different as how the writers look at who's Hall of Fame, qualified, because of all the advanced sabermetrics standings. And I'm not a fan of that either. I love baseball and I love statistics, but I don't care about WAR. I don't care about OPS plus, weighted runs created plus. What does all this mean? Half of us don't even know what it means. Just tell me what's his batting average? You watch people, and Brian Kenny is probably one of my most irritating people I've ever watched on TV. Talks about all these different statistics that nobody knows how to even compute, and talks about how batting average doesn't matter anymore and RBIs don't matter anymore. Well, I'll tell you what. If a guy hits 320, hits 35 home runs, and knocks in 120 runs, that's a damn good player. That's a damn good season. I don't want to hear about how all batting average doesn't matter. What's his WAR? What's his OPS plus? Come on. Enough already with the advanced statistics. It's mind-numbing. It really is. And unfortunately, that's how, moving forward, how the Hall of Fame votes are going to take place. But I think it's my opinion, reinstate him, number one, and put him on the ballot and let the writers decide. And I think he would get in. I really do. I think he's been contrite about what he did. I mean, a lot of people still don't like him. But, he's 30 years, he's paid his dues. This is one of the best pure hitters ever. His record will never be touched. He's getting up there in age. We've seen how many Hall of Famers in the last 3 months who have passed away that played with him and in the same era as him, who were around the same age. Who knows how much time he has left. I think it's time. Put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame already. Enough. Enough is enough. If you're going to forgive AJ Hinch and Alex Cora like that, boom, in. You got to get Pete Rose reinstated and get him in the Hall of Fame. So that's my rant. I welcome anybody's opinions, and it's just that, it's opinions. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. I'm gonna allow people all they want in the comments to say how they feel. If you don't agree with me, I'm not gonna unsubscribe to your page. And if you don't agree with me, I don't expect that you would unsubscribe to my page. It's an opinion. Everybody's entitled to one. And that's what I think. I'm curious what some other people think. I think it's going to be a very, very hotly contested topic over the next couple of months, this off season especially, when there's not a lot to talk about other than awards and free agents and trades and such. So you got to give the guys at MLB Network something to do all off season, so all their experts can come up with their what's the trade that I'm going to make? I'm the GM. I'm going to make this trade. Nobody cares. Okay. Let's talk about something like this that really is significant, in my opinion. Again, if you don't agree with me, that's fine. But go ahead and share your opinion. What do you think? I'd be curious to hear what other people think. So that's what I wanted to talk about a little bit. I look forward to reading comments, and I appreciate everybody who's watching. And feel free to comment, agree, disagree. I everybody, I want to see other people's opinions. That's why I'm posting it. I'm asking for it. I'm not going to get upset if you don't agree with me, and I wouldn't expect you to get upset with me if you don't agree with my viewpoint. But it's time already. Let's make this happen somehow. I mean, I have no power over it. Nobody else watching has any power over it. But if enough people talk about it, maybe the powers that be will make it happen. So, thanks for watching my video. Stay safe and take care.